All right, so the goal of today class is really give you a new foundation and some new tools to think and hopefully be more empowered when you get out of the military, right? I think of it as teaching you to fish, not giving you a fish, or in my case, teaching you how to hunt, right? So there's a 4-part program, right? Part 1 is called Becoming a Foreign Orphan. Part 2 is knowing yourself and your life requirements. 3 is hunting versus fishing, and 4 is something I call networking with a purpose. We'll take a slight pause in between each one. So if anybody has questions, that'll be the time to probably get them asked and answered. But again, stop me, interrupt me, put something in chat, and I'll try to answer as I go along. All right, so becoming a foreign orphan. All right, biggest thing to realize is that transition is a journey with no end, right? No one's done it until they've done it. So anyone that tells you that this is what it's going to feel like doesn't really know, right? Because it's unique to every person. Most advisors you have never done it before, right? So in the military uniform, the people you reach out to are those that are also still living at home, and I'll talk about that analogy more here in a minute. But the truth is that most of the people you interact with day to day have no idea what it's like to not live at home anymore, while you're asking them, hey, what's it like to not live at home? All right. The military spends years building your identity. Right? My senior thesis in college was on identity formation and transformation. Right. The military does a great job of intentionally giving you this new singular identity, right, called veteran, right, soldier, airman, sailor, marine, guardian, coastie, whatever it is, right? And they do that so that we have a cohesion and a singular attitude towards the mission, right? Marines do this probably better than everybody else. Every Marine's a rifleman, right? But when you leave this singular identity, right, there isn't really any transformation that goes on, right? We'll talk about certifications as well afterwards and how those really do start to help to bridge that gap in terms of credibility and relatability, so you have a newer-ish identity or a different lens you can use to go through, right? But the reality is there's no way to know what it's going to feel like until you actually go through it. And it doesn't have an end, right? It's not an event. It's simply a journey, right? That takes time, right? I'm 6 years removed from transition, and I'm still learning and still growing and figuring things out. All right, so my own journey, right? I say I'm a failed major overall, right? I'm a non-select 04 who did not plan on ever getting out, right? I wanted to retire. Started out in aviation, finished in ground logistics. I had an 11.5-year contract. So exit was not on my plan, right? And as a result, I did not plan. I did not have an exit strategy. I did not have a 5-year plan. I had I'm staying till 20 and I'm going to retire. And then I got non-selected to major. And it was like, oh crap, right? Now what do I do? Who am I? So I was hurt. I was frustrated. I did not want to stay anywhere near the DoD mindset. I wanted to be appreciated. I want to be valued. And I learned that that isn't necessarily the case depending on everywhere you go, right? The grass isn't always greener. Thankfully, I had Lean 6 and PM-P unit funded while I was in uniform. That gave me a lot of confidence in the interview. It gave me something to rely on and believe in that I brought to the table. I used a headhunter, which I call trout fishing, and I'll explain that later, where they got me a job, right? I succeeded in transition. I wasn't in uniform and not starving. I was a success in my own mind, but emotionally, I was undervalued, I was underappreciated, and didn't really like where my job was going overall. I finally, at that point, learned how to network. I found a mentor. I learned that I was worth more than I thought, and I learned how to hunt, right? I learned how to find the right job for me, map it to my life requirements, and ultimately get a better career path overall. Okay, for me, the reserves, for those that aren't retiring, reserves was an emotional lifesaver for me. I call it the family reunion once a month, right? I got to go home, right? I got to go be around the family that I knew without having to explain my story, without having to justify my value, explain where I've been and why someone should trust me, right? Just all those insecurities that go with being somewhere you don't understand, right? At least in the reserves, you get to be there and not explain it, right? And there's also pay incentives and honestly, insurance incentives, which I'll talk about later too. But for me, it kind of helped bridge the loss of income and the emotional floundering that you go through once you get out of uniform. All right. So understanding the emotional journey overall, right? Leaving the military is a unique experience for everyone, and it will feel like leaving a family. We talked about this a little bit. Everyone's journey is unique, right? Don't let anyone tell you that you're exactly like them, because they're not, right? And it's going to come with a lot of emotions, right? Pain, fear, regret, excitement, doubt, right? Sometimes you feel, ashamed, right? I talked to a warrant officer out of Hawaii who said he felt ashamed that he wanted to choose his family first and was going to retire as a CW4, right? So there's a lot of emotions. Whatever they are, it's okay, right? No one knows what you're feeling unless you tell them. No one can help you process them until you talk about it. But there's no end state, right? There's no destination. It doesn't end. And ultimately, you're not alone. But again, you have to reach out. You have to be vulnerable. You have to share what you're going through so you can find out that you're not alone and potentially get some answers to the questions that you're thinking about, right? How do I do this? What do I do this? Is it okay? Right. And again, whatever you're feeling is okay. I guarantee others feel the same thing. We don't like talking about feelings in the military very much, right? Because we avoid them. However, emotions drive a lot of good decisions, or they can drive a lot of bad decisions. And if your emotions are not aware, you cannot process them, and they may influence you to do something you aren't really wanting to do. All right. I've said this phrase to very senior folks in and out of uniform, right? The most mature you're ever going to be as a college graduate, because you still live at home. Mom and dad tell you what to wear, and your whole purpose in life is making sure that all your siblings don't piss off mom and dad, right? I've gotten a lot of awkward laughs when I say this at times, but there's a reason for it, right? The military provides all those things for you that you normally get as a child, so you can simply focus on the job at hand, which is acting in that family environment to accomplish the purpose of the family, right? This is intentional, right? Your pay, your benefits, your food, your lodging, your shelter, like all those things are granted and given to you so you can hyper focus on the chaos called military. Okay. All right, we talked about it. They establish a common identity at boot camp, right? After the rebirth of boot camp, you move along in a childlike growth progression, right? You first go to kindergarten, where you can clothe and feed yourself, and that's about it. Then you eventually go back to the family to interact with everyone. Then you kind of go on to that next level school, right? As a known progression, like junior high, where I have other siblings to take care of and monitor and look out for. Eventually I go on to high school, and maybe that top level school like college. Everything is based in this family environment construct, right? Your primary job is making sure all the siblings understand what they're supposed to be doing, follow the rules, and make sure that you obey them too. Okay. But your identity, your loyalty, your value, your pay, your decision-making, your purpose, everything is defined and accelerated in this family environment. And they're all aligned with what the DoD wants overall. Okay. Your needs are given to you, right? So you can simply focus on the mission, how you behave, how things are done, how you make decisions, right? Everything is constrained for and within this family. Your earning potential and your pay are defined and fixed by the regulations of the family. But your family is stable, right? It's driven, it's disciplined, and everyone understands this construct and this environment, right? There's a comfort in the known of this environment. And you only get to leave at certain points, right? You are here for the duration of your contract, and we re-up, right? We keep rejoining this family over and over until we finally say, hey, I don't want it, but you're still kind of stuck there, right? Overall. And you don't get to decide if you like certain aspects. So there's a lot of stuff we tolerate inside this family, because in order to succeed in the family of the military, we have to comply, right? We have to tolerate those things. We try to make change as we can, but change is hard. We sometimes fight those, but overall, it's not our choice, right? We don't have the freedom to say, I don't want to be here anymore, or I don't want to be in this unit, or, you know, I just don't like that boss, I'm going to quit, right? Those aspects aren't there. And we stay loyal to the family because we want to protect those we serve with, right? To our right and to our left. As you leave, though, this thing completely changes, right? The dynamic of the loyalty completely changes. Okay, so I call becoming the fostered foreign orphan. Okay, no company ever adopts you again, right? There's no rebirth or singular culture. No one starts from scratch and intentionally forms you and molds you into what an employee is supposed to be in that organization, right? No company guarantees your employment length, right? Just like you sign up, it's like, hey, I got a 5-year contract. Nope, like you're here until the business no longer needs you, you're no longer value added, or you decide that you don't want to be there anymore. Okay, you are now forever a veteran in their eyes, right? It's like coming from a foreign country. You speak differently. You outwork, outpace, outdo probably most of the people you're going to be around, and you expect that people just act with intent, and there's a bias for action, and there's a camaraderie, and that's just how it's supposed to happen. You know, this is not the culture outside of the military, right? Every company, every environment has their own culture. Your level of responsibility will likely exceed everything you will ever have again, okay? I'm a C-suite executive, if you want to call it that, in a company that I started, and yet I have less direct report authority than I did as a second lieutenant, okay, in the Marine Corps, right? A platoon commander has direct authority over more people than most senior leaders in companies on the outside, okay? And you're given that trust, you're given that authority immediately when you get out, and yet once you leave the military, that trust takes time to build. It takes a while maybe before you can even have decision-making authority again. Okay, you can leave whenever you want. and they can fire you, right? So it puts some instability in that relationship simply because you have the choice of leaving. There's no housing allowance, clothing allowance, or family separation pay. So when you're gone, you're just gone, right? There may not be those fringe benefits that we're used to in the military. Your rank, your tabs, your awards, your badges, your medals mean absolutely nothing on the outside, right? They don't translate. A lot of people will see them and say, oh, those are cool, they look shiny, those must be important, yet they don't carry any credibility or weight, right? Professional certifications mean more. Near and dear to my heart is the PMP. I call it the Ranger tab of certifications, right? But others out there do too, right? CISP, SEC Plus, right? There's others that are hard to get, right? And they have that credibility. You can carry those with you where your military stuff doesn't, right? You don't owe the company anything, right? I felt like I owed the first company I worked for my loyalty because they took a chance on me, right? I had low self-esteem. I had low value esteem in terms of what I was worth. And I felt like if I left that company, I was betraying them because they took that chance for me to get that job, right? But that's just not the case. You don't owe them anything, right? And now, one of the harder things, I have to make sure to provide the foundations that my family needs, right? From housing to insurance, to retirement pay, to life insurance and medical insurance. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was given to you in the family of the military. Just show up and it's the only option you have. But when you leave, now you have choices, but you also have to make sure that you have the right amount of everything else that's there, right? That you go find those things that you need. Again, like life insurance, SGLI, VGLI, are those the things that I want? Are those the best cost for me? Do I have the right amount of savings saved up? Do I know what my retirement plan is going to look like? Do I have what I need to provide my family? Again, as a retiree, you're going to get your allowance check from mom and dad. And if you're a disabled veteran, you're going to get a little extra kicker, right? So great, but you have to go find these things. And if you're not aware of what they are, it becomes extremely overwhelming really fast out of uniform. I did not get the privilege to retire. I had a high medical needs daughter, and that's why I could not become the entrepreneur I wanted for a while, because I could not provide the foundation I needed for my family. All right, and the last thing, you don't just have to suck it up and take it, right? You now get a choice. So take the mask off and stop tolerating things that drive you nuts and start mapping out what it is you really want in life and what you're going after, okay? And we're gonna get there. We talk about your life requirements in the next section. All right, your family transitions too, right? This was huge for me. I was too afraid to go through the transition journey, so I didn't know how to let my family go through the journey either, right? I didn't know how to process my own needs and desires and fears and emotions. So there was no way I could invite my wife to be a part of that journey with me, okay? So just, realize that. Okay, your family's needs and expectations are tied to your service, okay? They have a comfort because of that environment that you're a part of, right? It's known and it's structured and it's stable for them too. Supporting you being gone may be different if your job does not have a purpose. My wife had a hard time. I worked construction project management. I loved it. I was successful at it. Yet I was gone more as a civilian than I was in the uniform. My wife never once complained about me being gone in uniform, right? I missed the birth of my daughter, my first deployment. I deployed 3 months after my second daughter was born. My wife's a single mom, essentially, for the formative years of our kids growing up. And she never once complained. And yet now I'm gone doing construction and maintenance, and I'm just not there anymore. And the reality that we had a choice to not be gone, right, had a different weight on my family, right? She wasn't okay with me just not being there anymore. And neither was I okay just missing events in life now that I could choose. But what I didn't know was, how do I go find the job that I want? How do I find out the right purpose that I want to have? Okay, there's a change in compensation and travel benefits, right? Not everyone adheres to the DoD travel standards. Right? I made $30 a day per diem living in one-star hotels. Why? Because the company wanted to make money. It wasn't about my comfort, okay? Change in job stability, right? So the fact that you can be fired changes the stability of the job that you have, right? And things like COVID happened and now you're bankrupt, right? I mean, just it changes the dynamic of comfort for your family when you're not in uniform. Right? Cost of living and fringe benefits like the commissary and medical, right? Those are known things. We know what the budget costs, but now I'm going to shop at other stores and other places that now cost a lot more money, right? For medical, I'm paying $1,000 a month right now just to have coverage. But that doesn't count the costs for me to go to the hospital when something actually happens. That's just so I have the freedom to go to the hospital and not eat the entire bill, okay? So again, reserves are great. TRICARE is amazing, right? You want to argue with me, come and set up a call and I'll tell you what. Right, spouses clubs and networks, right? The freedom to be a spouse and go relate to other spouses whose, spouse isn't there. right? How do you connect with and emotionally relate to other people in your community, especially if they're not veterans, right? My wife struggled with this, going to church. How do you tell stories and understand what it's like to relate to someone that's lived in the same town and community their entire life? All their family are there and no one's ever traveled. And yet you've lived in multiple places in multiple cities trying to find some way to relate to them, right? It's hard, right? Losing your rank, right? Whether you want to admit it or not, some spouses walk around with the status of their spouse. Okay, yeah, it's gone too, right? You don't get to walk in and be anybody anymore, right? Location, company, purpose, and other things have to be considered, right? What does your family want and why? Even going home, I hear a lot of people, they want to go home. And yet when I go home, I still can't relate to the people I used to connect with growing up because they haven't been through that life transformation of the military that I've been through. I can't tell them deployment stories and have them really comprehend what it's like. Okay, and I'll talk later about building your tribe, but that's why finding, no matter where you go, a community of veterans that you can talk to and be honest with is so powerful, simply to let you, again, not have to pretend to be somebody you're not, and you can be raw and authentic and not worry about the perception you're creating. All right, last thing, allow your family to participate in the process as much as you can, right? This doesn't mean you have to have the answers. It means asking questions together. What do we want in our life? What do you see me doing? What are we looking for, right? And I'll talk about requirements here in the next section here to make a lot more sense. All right, the reality of transition, right? The military creates a dependency where you don't get to decide and cannot influence many things, right? And that's why we are behind emotionally when we get out. When you leave the family, you are now responsible to provide the things the military used to give you. Right? I hit this earlier. The only constant variable in transition is you. Everything else is now something you get to decide and influence. But you have to figure out what's important for you and your family. It's very hard and uncomfortable to explore what you really want to do, and you might fail a few times, right? That's okay. It's uncomfortable because we never had the freedom to actually do it. And when I ask you, what do you want to do? You're grasping at what you think is going to make you fulfilled. Now, I will teach you how to do that better in a minute, okay? But you have to be willing to explore. And last thing, you will have zero job experience until you show up, right? Certifications and SkillBridge greatly help. But let's just be honest. How many times have you been given a job in the military with zero experience? And yet we crush it, right? Why veterans make great entrepreneurs is we're used to being thrown in an environment with zero experience and saying, go figure it out. Right? And failure isn't an option, right? What's hard is getting industry to believe that you have the capability to be successful, to support what they're doing, even though you don't have the pedigree they think you're supposed to have, right? And that's why I help teach industry how to hire veterans and retain veterans too, because there's a huge gap, right? We have so much capability as a veteran, yet we don't have the credibility and relatability that we need to sell our product ourselves as value added to a company once we get out, right? But certifications are huge in that because certs come with credibility, and the language we learn in the pursuit of a certification gives us a relatability where I can translate what I did into what you think it's supposed to look like. But without that value, right, it's so hard to show up and say, I know what you expect, right? And you can't just show up and say, I'm a veteran, hire me, right? They want to. I did a presentation in Vegas a few weeks ago. Everyone wants to support veterans. I'm like, great, well, what's a veteran make in your company, right? What's a hero make in your company? And they're like, I don't know. Let's go, because I don't know either, right? So we have to find a way to bridge this divide and have honest conversations. All right, misplaced loyalty, right? I hit on this a little bit earlier, right? But it's very easy to give a lot more of yourself than a company deserves because that's how we are wired, right? It is our character and our nature in the military that we don't quit, and this can be used against you, right? There are some notable companies out there that are known for grinding veterans into the ground and then just kind of kicking them out. They may pay really well, but emotionally they'll burn you, okay? My company, again, I said I felt like I could see how to make them better. I wanted them to improve. I didn't want to abandon my team, and yet my family was being sacrificed in the process. And I finally got a 3-star mentor in Wally Massenberg, right, an amazing individual who met with me every week to kind of coach me. And that's when I started getting the right advice. Okay, he asked me 2 simple questions. If the company was sinking, would they make sure to keep paying you? And I was like, no, they can't, right? That makes no sense that you're going to pay somebody money you don't have, right? Even basic economics says that that can't happen, right? At the same time, he's like, your family is sinking. Why are you making sure the company's still getting paid, right? And that was when it finally hit me. I'm okay to leave, right? I'm okay to make the choice that's best for me and my family. I'm going to stop paying the company and start taking care of me, right? And what my family needs. Right. Civilian companies are not the military. You don't have to stay if you don't like it. You don't owe the company anything, right? I hit on that before. And leaving doesn't mean you are a failure or you have bad character. Okay? You are free to leave if you want to. Don't take it personal. Don't assume any responsibility for like, look, it's just the right choice to go. And every conversation I've had with a boss has said, it's okay, right? I expect to get yelled at. I expect to have this guilt trip when I walk in saying, hey, like I'm putting in my resignation. And yet to a person, professionals talk with you and say, you know what, how can I help you? I wish you the best of luck, right? But we don't expect that, because if I ever walked into my CEO's office and said, I'm quitting and leaving, it just feels wrong. Okay, you don't do that. All right, some first-time decisions that you will have to make now that you're leaving the military. All right, where do I want to live? I now have a freedom of choice, right? Medical, dental, life insurance, and benefits. How to buy or wear a suit, right? Salute to Suit is a great company out there. If you want to hit them up, let me know. But I walked into Joseph A. Bank saying, make me look good. And they're like, they all look good. I'm like, that doesn't help, right? I had no idea. I don't know what color to get or how it's supposed to even fit. Right? Writing a resume, right? We don't do that in the military. Doing an interview. Again, I've done boards, but I'd never done an interview trying to sell my value to a company and argue about what I'm worth, right? Negotiating a salary. I never had a choice. We don't know where to start. Okay, logging time, right? Log in and make sure you put in hours at work. I'm on salary. Why am I doing that? Because we got to build a customer for your work. Wait, what? You know, so again, there's differences in what you have to do. A 401k. Okay, what's a retirement plan that I want, and how do I pick investments? Not getting a housing allowance, right? There's no tax-free pay, so I'm paying tax on everything. So even if your base pay looks bigger, you're not going to take as much home because you're going to be investing in your retirement plan, and then you're paying tax on every dollar you make, right? And lastly, having the freedom to quit or the freedom to really be fired without a major board that says you're not getting paid anymore, right? Getting fired from your job for loss of confidence in uniform still means you're going to get a paycheck and still have benefits. It doesn't mean you're no longer in uniform. It just means you're not working at that organization. So, a great point. Your values no longer align. It's okay to move on to an opportunity. All right, so better process. I'll explain this later, right? Fishing versus hunting. I was a fisherman, true and true. I used a headhunter. I call that trout fishing, right? And then I learned how to hunt, and I will teach you how to do this later today. Okay, but don't fish. It's passive. Let's teach you how to be active and get the job you want. All right, any questions on part one here? I saw some good chat and comments going on for the presentation. All right, and those that know, right? Got my loyalty mug over here. No one you work with in civilians has any idea what green beans is, by the way. But hey, taxes, class on that. Yeah, it's a huge wake-up call for those that have no idea that taxes are coming. All right, part two, establishing your own identity. All right, this is kind of the lens and a keystone statement here, but your passion, your purpose, your why, combined with your requirements, set the foundation for transition and are a lens that you must use to evaluate every transition-related decision, right? It's a mouthful, right? It's a lot, but you will understand and we'll dissect what this statement means as we go through this, right? But it's essentially taking a lens of who am I, what do I need, and why am I doing it, and evaluating every decision I make relative to getting out to see that they align with those things, right? The core requirements of self, life, and purpose. Is what I'm going after aligned to that mission set or not? All right, there's two parts to figure out. First is the who are you, right? What are you passionate about? What is your why? What are your strengths? Why are you trying to get a job in the first place? Okay, and the second aspect is what are your requirements? Okay. How much pay do I need to make? What location do I want to live in? What benefits do I need? What culture do I want to be a part of? What mission do I want to serve now that I get to pick my own? Right? What's my purpose? What kind of a community do I want to live in? Okay. All right. Well, I'll give you ways to figure this stuff out. So it's not like a blank check or a blind question. All right. So who are you? Right? The raw question, right? When I take off the uniform, my rank, my medals, my badges, my accolades, everything about me that I've known that defines who I am, when that is gone, what's left? Okay. All right. What excites you? What do I want to do with my life? Right? What mission do I want to support? What community do I want to invest in, either personal or professional? Right? And what is it that I need? Right? Why am I doing this? And again, so much of what we believed in followed the military. So much of our desires either directly aligned with or we forcibly aligned with the purpose of the military. but is that who we really are, right? And back to my own journey, I ran away from the military, and my wife was right. She's like, you're going to miss it, right? Everything you've known since high school has been military, and it's part of you. And I was like, no, I want to be appreciated. And yet she was right? I want to be back supporting the military, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how to do it. So my first job back in the military was government consulting, right? And then I became an entrepreneur founding PM-ProLearn with a purpose like today of helping veterans empower themselves so they have the choices that I didn't have, right? And I love it, right? I want to be in and around our community because that's just part of who I am and my why and my passion. All right, so some ways to know yourself, right? Clifton Strengths Finder, you can look it up. There's a link here. Again, you get the slides. It's a phenomenal assessment that gives you your top 5 natural giftings. Okay, mine is activator, maximizer, strategic communicator, and woo, right? Essentially, I want to solve complex problems, right? Build a coalition of people around me to help solve that problem. I'm not going to wait for you to tell me to go. I'm going to do it anyway, right? And I want to make the system run as good as possible, right? So project management for me was a great career field for the right company to let me do that. Okay. It's a lens that I get to assess, am I going to be able to use my passions and my strengths in the job I'm going to have? And it's also a value that I can sell to a company. Okay. The missing piece for me was my why, right? Simon Sinek has a great program called Discover Your Why. If you use the discount code on the slide, it's $25. Okay. It's a $250 program, but for vets, it's $25, right? And it gives you kind of your life mission statement, right? So my mission statement is to lead and help others, so together we can improve every situation, right? That's why I exist. Now I'm doing a job that I didn't think I ever wanted, right? Sales. And yet the job I have now as an entrepreneur is directly aligned with my strengths and my why for the project of grow a company. Okay. And yes, Ryan, I'll send these slides out. Right. So I didn't know how to assess those things, or I didn't know how to evaluate who I really was. The first job I had didn't align with my purpose. The second job I had, right, in consulting started to align with my purpose. And yet my full job now as an entrepreneur is a direct alignment to my why. I get to help people every day. Right. Now we help teach project management, but these classes are part of that too, right? And working and volunteering with O2O and other organizations to help veterans. Okay. DISC profile is huge, right? It's a great way to assess what you bring to the table. And then Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTJ through and through. Right? If you know the Myers-Briggs. Again, these don't tell you the job you're supposed to have. These help you have a lens that says, am I going to be as effective as I can when I look at a job in a company with a culture and a team doing this type of work? What do I bring to the table, right? What am I going to be able to bring with me to A, sell my value to the company, but B, assess my own fit, right? Again, veterans have so much capability and I can do lots of different things, but that doesn't mean I really want to be doing those things or that it's going to make me happy when I'm doing them. Okay, and then lastly, ask your significant other and your friends, hey, what can you see me doing outside the military? Right, my father-in-law asked me that same question. I said, I want to be free to think, lead teams, and help people. And he's like, great, what job do you want? I said, I don't really care as long as I'm doing that, right? But he's like, well, that's not a job title. It's not going to help you put that on a resume. But what I didn't know is that I was actually more on track with defining what I wanted to be doing than I knew, right? But you're right, the job looks at a job title, yet we have to know how to map that out, right? Assess our requirements. All right, so defining requirements. All right, there's some participation here. Feel free to join in as much as you want. You'll get more out of it if you do. All right, so how would you answer the following, right? These are kind of silly questions a little bit, but there's a reason for it. Okay, if I asked you, hey, where do you want to eat? What are you going to tell me? It's about lunchtime. Come on, we're hungry. You want to eat at sushi, okay? Any good Mexican restaurant, anything but Chinese. All right, you're easy. Pizza. Spartan's Greek food. Find somebody answer the actual question. I said, where do you want to eat? Not what do you want to eat? All right. At home. With this one, where do you want to go on vacation? Italy, Nepal, Tahiti, some good places. Australia, Egypt. All right. We got people thinking now a little bit. All right, we're going to skip the next one because it's a little bit, harder to define. What do you want to do this weekend? But how about this one? What do you want to do when you leave the military? Everywhere, beaches. Get rich. I'm going to cook, work, succeed. All right. So in the first two questions, right, the reality is that we talk in solutions, right? It's human nature to skip to things that answer all the subcontext of what we want to do, right? So I say, where do you want to eat? People give me restaurant names, but the requirements part of that has to do with either cost, environment, flavor, caloric intake, letting me be able to do something that, lets me work out later on, or I can get it for less than so much money and eat it in one hand while I'm driving in the car, right? The requirements we answer, or we don't really talk about, we just talk in solutions, right, to satisfy the requirements. I love the chat going back and forth. All right, so where do you want to go on vacation, right? So the requirements could be a place in a foreign country that allows me to disconnect with beautiful scenery, or I can unplug, not be talked about, with good food. I can get there in less than so many hours by this mode of travel under this specific cost that allows me to achieve the relaxation goal that I have. Okay. Now that could be Italy or Tahiti, all the places that were listed, or maybe it's just a cabin in the mountains, right? But we automatically, when we get asked these questions, we start looking into the solutions that we think map to our requirements, right? I'm the same way. Like, I want to talk to somebody and say, just give me this, and that will somehow satisfy all of the problems I'm trying to fix. Right? Even the military said, don't give me the labor pain, just give me the baby. Right? Give me to the end state, right? It's human nature, especially in the military, that we just want to talk in the end state solution. Don't tell me the problems you're going through. Don't tell me what it is you're trying to solve. Right? But when you start looking at getting out of uniform and identifying the job you want, it's important to actually go back to that. What is the problem I'm trying to solve aspect, and list out the requirements. All right, requirements are those things that lead you to a solution and must be quantified and prioritized with enough detail to ensure your solution actually meets your requirements. Okay, and this is back to knowing yourself, like, who am I, what do I need, and why am I hunting in the first place? Right? What job am I going after, and what am I trying to satisfy by getting this job? And back to my opening statement, right? My purpose, my why, my requirements are the lens I use to evaluate transition decisions. Is the solution I'm going after actually going to solve the problem I'm trying to solve, or am I being emotionally attached to something for some reason and it's actually taking me the wrong direction? Okay, so don't jump to solutions first and assume it meets your requirements. Write your requirements first and evaluate your solution against those requirements, right? And we'll talk about hunting, where your LinkedIn profile and your resume are the last step in that solution, not the first step. All right, so how do we define requirements, right? I've thrown this problem at you, like, hey, go define requirements. So how do we do this, right? So requirements come in multiple areas, and I'm going to use Maslow's hierarchy as a model, right? This isn't an all-encompassing model, but it's a good way to start. Okay, being able to assess different requirements affects the type and size of the animal you want to hunt, the job you're going after, and your purpose for hunting at all. Okay, knowing yourself and your why is the key first step. Okay, so we talk about that first. All right. So a little job mapping here using Maslow's hierarchy. Physiological needs translates into my ability to provide those physiological needs, which correlates to some level of pay, income, and benefits, right? So yes, we need air, water, food, shelter, clothing. That means you have to earn enough to provide those things for you and your family. All right. Safety needs, right, are great. That has to do with, where am I going to live? What kind of a house do I have? What school are my kids going to? What's the stability of the job that I have right now? What's the work environment supposed to be like? And the actual work risks, right? In the military, there's always kind of inherent danger to our job. In construction, I worked heavy rigging, which is extremely high risk. I kind of liked it, right? I liked being out there in the field and kind of on the edge a little bit. Okay, but then ultimately my physiological needs weren't being met, and the salary I had didn't meet my purpose, and the culture wasn't there. So I can get one of these, but am I really getting the whole package? Right, love and belonging has to do with your work culture, the interactions you're going to have at work, how decisions get made, right? What community are you a part of? Your purpose, your vision, your family connected. I mean, all these things kind of deal with love and belonging tied into your work environment. The reality is you'll spend more time at work than you do at home, so finding the right culture is a key step. All right, esteem, right? I tie that to autonomy, bonuses, promotability, growth, authority, decision-making, responsibility, right? All these things that go into how I feel about myself while I'm doing the job that I'm going to be a part of. And self-actualization, to me, the ultimate goal is doing something I love that aligns with my why and my purpose and lets me use my strengths to achieve my personal and professional goals. Okay, but I have to ensure all the bottom stuff under there is a part of that equation. Okay, so how do we define requirements, right? You could take all these bullets on here and try to describe what those are. I've got a spreadsheet we can email out later too that starts this process. But in acquisitions, right, we start by answering these questions, right? Well, step one is first, where do I want to be versus where I am? So I can do a gap analysis, right? The as is versus to be, there's a gap. When there's a gap, how do I fill it in, right? What is it that I'm really going after? We're not talking through that CBA or the capability-based assessment process. But in this circumstance, right, it's just your life and what you want when you're no longer living at home, right? So answer the following questions. I'd like the ability to do what? Right? Don't limit the number of answers, the number of times you answer these things. I want the ability to make decisions. I want the ability to work indoors versus outdoors. I want the ability to have formal authority. I want the ability to, right, have diverse work, right? I'd like the ability to promote. I like the ability to, right, think out of the box, right? Don't cap the number of things you want. Or I want the ability to have, right? I want the ability to have formal authority. I want the ability to have variety of work, right? I want the ability to have a paycheck guaranteed every month. I'd like the ability to have benefits. I'd like the ability to get a bonus, right? Right. So these are all six-figure salary. Well, there's a trade-off with six-figure salary, right? Because do I want the responsibility that comes with having that income? Okay, so I was talking to a colonel and he rode the ladder going up and got out to have the program manager job like he was supposed to as the senior officer leaving in the Beltway bandit area. And then he realized he was unhappy. He's like, I'm just tired of having responsibility anymore. I don't want responsibility for anybody but myself. I want the freedom to manage my own time, to Jeremiah's point. He became a trucker. He became an over-the-road trucker, and he got a sleeper cabin. Him and his wife go on the road, and they're happy as hell because they're actually doing what they want to be doing. But he had to get over his impression of his value relative to job title that he carried and the amount of money he was making on a salary, right? So again, you have to match what you're really looking for. And if you do, you may find that there are multiple solutions to solve your problem. Then when you look at a solution and try to design your requirements to justify it, right? And this is where the military does acquisitions wrong in so many ways, right? We see something that somebody bought and I think that'll be a good fit for what my problem is, yet I haven't done the root cause analysis of the problem I'm trying to solve, but I get emotionally tied to the decision that I want to have, right? And we try to shoehorn our requirements into a solution until we finally get to the point that we're unhappy. And then we go, you know what, this ain't working out. All right, so after we write down these ility questions, right, we have to define them, right? And travel is a good one. I had a call with a guy in Thailand the other day that I'm mentoring right now. I said, let's just look at travel. How much travel are you comfortable with? He's like, I'm putting 40 to 50% travel. I was like, well, let's just use 25% travel as an example, right? So 25% travel. My question is that a day, a week, a month, or a year, right? Am I okay being on the road 2 out of 8 hours every day? Am I okay being on the road 1 overnight every week? Am I okay being on the road for 1 week every single month? Or am I okay being on the road 3 months every single year in a single duration? Right? And do those definitions of 25% travel change my comfort level or willingness to want to take that job? Right? Because I bet for all of us, it does. Yet 25% travel doesn't seem that high. But if you're going to ask me to be gone 3 months out of every single year in a single duration, that may not fit my life requirements or my family's requirements anymore. Right? So you have to put a measure and a metric to each of these things so that when you're networking and you're interviewing and you're having conversations, you can assess the accuracy of the solution to your goals, okay, to your requirements. Right? Salary, what's the base? What's the bonus structure? What are the fringe benefits? Can I actually achieve the level of income that I want to have? Okay, the culture, vision, mission, right? Is it just stated? Is it believed in? What does it look like? If you say you're a veteran-friendly company, what do I expect that to be? So when I walk in the door, my expectations match reality, and I'm not just hoping, right? I'm not just wishing that or thinking that this is what it would mean in my definition. I'm actually having somebody validate what it is. So when I show up, I am achieving what I wanted. Okay, again, the list is unending, right? You can rank them as much as you want. All right, the next step in this journey is to rank them in order of importance, right? We use Moscow voting and Agile, right? Must have, should have, could have, won't have. right? Must-haves are the non-negotiables. These are things that I'm not going to tolerate not being there, right? Should-haves are the high desires, right? Like the 7 to 9s out of 10 that I really want there to be there. The, could-haves, right? It's the lower end, kind of nice, but not really critical. And then sometimes the won't-haves are easier to define, right? What am I not going to tolerate in this job? What is not acceptable to me in this job, right? And then prioritize them. Because as you look at all these things, it helps you assess, again, as you evaluate a job or a company, how well does this solution that I think I want match to what I'm trying to provide? And your final step, right? Try to align locations, industries, companies, and titles with your requirements. Okay, I'll hit this again later, but job titles are not standardized. They are not MOSs. They are not uniform. The job title is created by the company to attract talent. So if I don't know my requirements, I cannot use a job title to say that this is going to match what I want. All right, one concept I want to drive home, right? Stability versus maneuverability. I saw a few people chat in there. I want the freedom to make my own decisions. Okay, that's called maneuverability, right? The freedom to do what I want, right? And these concepts are diametrically opposed, right? Stability is defined as an object's ability to return to steady state after acted upon by an outside force. Okay, I push it, it comes back. Okay, economically, hard times like COVID happen, and a stable company can take that force, right? Move a little and come back to normal. Okay, maneuverability is defined as ease of motion, essentially, right? How free am I to do whatever I want, right? But something that is stable is usually not maneuverable, and something maneuverable is also not stable, right? So think of a cargo aircraft versus a fighter, or I say a tank versus a unicycle, right? Unicycle can turn anywhere, and yet a strong wind's going to blow it over. A tank isn't movable very easily, okay? So as you look at jobs, right, if I want stable, look for larger companies, right? They're usually built with higher cash flow to handle more winds of change, okay? So the most stable job out there is a GS employee, okay? It's a very bureaucratic organization, and your freedom to move and do whatever you want is extremely limited. Okay? If you want ultimate maneuverability, be an entrepreneur or a solopreneur. It's just you, right? I can sleep in, work, not work, do whatever the heck I want to, and no one can tell me anything. However, there is no guarantee I will ever get paid. But as an entrepreneur, I have unlimited earning potential, right? So if earning potential and growth are a part of my desire, I might want to be in a smaller company that's going to allow me the latitude to go do and be all of what I am and get paid whatever I can be paid, right? Maybe in jobs like sales. If I'm really driven by money and I want unlimited earning potential, look at different types of job fields that let me behave that way. If stable paycheck and good benefits is key, then look for other types of jobs, right? Again, bigger companies or government work. All right, the 5 why drill, right, to root cause. This is a Lean Six Sigma concept, right? Essentially, when I'm trying to find the root problem that I'm trying to solve, I ask the word why 5 times. Hey, like, why do I want to go to Tahiti for vacation? Because it lets me do this. Well, why do I want to do that? Because I'm trying to get away from stress at work right now. Okay, why am I getting away from stress at work right now? Right, so we can start pulling the thread on the problem that we're trying to solve, and then we can assess, is the solution I'm going after actually going to map to the problem that I'm trying to solve, or have I not even identified the problem yet? Okay, so again, something that Lean Six does. You can use fishbowl diagrams, a lot of other tools to assess root cause analysis, but just a way to brainstorm. All right, drive this point home. Your individual worth and your value are not based on job title, company, or salary. Okay, I did a post a while back on the cost or consequence of insecurity. I think insecurity often drives, young enlisted guys to buy the sports car they can't afford. But as senior folks, insecurity also sometimes causes us to buy the house we shouldn't be having and pursue a job we don't want. Right. Why? Because we are too insecure to not have a high-powered position or a high-powered job title, because that's what we're used to. All right. So again, assess yourself. Who are you? What do you need? And why are you doing it? And then find the right alignment to the core of your person first. Again, the truck driver story. Once the colonel got over the fact that he didn't need the high-powered position because he didn't want what came with it, he became happy being a truck driver. But you have to be comfortable enough walking in and saying, I'm a trucker, and dealing with whatever you think that opinion of others might be, given the social media world we live in. All right. Pause for questions. And we're halfway through. Hopefully you guys are learning a lot. All right, moving on to part 3. This part gets fun. In part 4, I'll show you how to use LinkedIn to go hunt. All right, a better process. I described this to you guys earlier. All right, when I was in transition, the resume was everything, right? Choose the job I want, find a good spot like Monster or Indeed or USA Jobs. I choose my resume out there and I throw it out and I hope something says you're worth it. All right, no idea what I really wanted, and I was just hoping over and over again. I used a headhunter, which again, I described as trout fishing. They just throw your resume in front of starving fish that they have coached to be hand fed by them, and they get you a fish. They got me a job. What they didn't do was teach me how to fish. Hey, how do I do that without needing you? And then I realized I wasn't happy in the job, and yet my only option is go back to the same place to get fish again until I found a mentor, right? I started networking and things like that. In the hunting, right, the active approach instead, the first thing is, who am I, what do I need, and why am I hunting in the first place? Okay, find a hunting guide, find a spotter, assess your weapon, choose your bullet, right, and then fire from multiple positions. I'm going to walk you through every step in that process to teach you how. Right, don't do that. Let's start hunting. All right, so know yourself, right? The first step in any mission planning is what and why am I hunting, right? Know my enemy, know myself. Right, back to Sun Tzu. Okay, good, do your research. Who are you going after? Why are you going after it? Not everyone wants or needs a high-powered job, right? Some may want the sport of small jobs because you're living on your allowance check from mom and dad, right? So only you know why you're hunting and what you need. Okay, find a hunting guide, right? Each industry is like hunting in a different state. Okay, if I'm going to Alaska or down to Florida, right, I need to talk to somebody that lives there and say, what kind of animals roam around in this area? How big is it? What do you call it? Okay, how do I prepare to go hunting in that area? What equipment do I need? What makes me credible? Okay, so I can be there. So A, I understand if I even want to be in that environment hunting. Or B, is the animal going to satisfy my requirements? Is it big enough? Is it sporty enough? Do I have the credibility to go hunt it anyway? Okay, kind of like the McCoo, right? Your obstacle overlay in an intel, briefing. Hey, where are the good spots? Where are the bad spots? What's there? What do you call the animal, right? What do you call the job title in that industry so I can start assessing what to start looking for? Because again, job titles are not standardized, right? Industry professionals can help steer you towards certain companies, certain job titles, certain locations, or even certain departments or subsets of industries. Right? I'll take healthcare as an example. I've heard people, I want to work in healthcare. I was like, really, what part of healthcare? Right? I have everything from medical device manufacturing to medical device sales to pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical sales to hospital operations, supply chain and logistics, or insurance. I mean, it could all be considered healthcare. Okay, so where in that state or that hunting area called healthcare do you think you really want to reside? And then what does it take to be credible, and what would the job title I want to go after look like in every one of those areas? All right, the next step to me is the most important thing, or one of the most important things I will teach you today, is how to find a spotter. Okay, no sniper or artillery shoots without someone forward observing their target. Okay, I need someone on the inside, right? So in our context, a spotter is an employee inside the organization who can range my target for me, right? They're the best source of intelligence you will ever get. And if I can find a veteran that works inside the organization, now I have someone I can talk to about my requirements, assessing my needs, looking at jobs, right? And assessing my weapon, which we'll get to in a minute. Right, you can use LinkedIn to filter out employees inside of the companies and hopefully find a fellow veteran who's there. And I'm going to teach you how to do this later today. Talk with that insider to get answers to your requirements in step 1. So before I even waste the bullet killing an animal, do I even want it? Right? Is it rotten meat? Does it meet my needs? Right? Do I even want to go on that first date? Right? To use a dating analogy. Okay. If I know enough about the person or the company to say, I don't want to be an employee, why am I going to waste any emotional energy whatsoever to go after the job? Okay. Again, researching someone before I go on a date, before I ask them out, before I walk up and approach them, talk to their best friend and find out about them. Do they match what I'm looking for or not? Things you can ask your spotter, right? How does the hiring process work? I get the question, when should I start applying to a job? I don't know. Ask an employee that works there. Maybe it's 120 days out. Maybe it's 6 weeks out. Maybe it's 90 days out, right? How long does it take and how does it work? Can you tell me about the company and the culture, right? Why are you still an employee there? If you had your druthers, would you be quitting, right? That can be telling. What's the salary look like? Back to the self-worth. Thanks, Jeremiah. Right? What's the starting salary going to be? What should I be asking for in my interview when they say salary negotiations? And where should I start asking? Or what's the benefits package look like? Is there a good or a better department to work for? Some of your big companies like your Booz and Lockheed's or Deloitte's have total subcultures inside of them. And there may be some areas that are better than others, right? I had a great friend of mine who helped get me a job in consulting. And he kept telling me, don't apply to this job. Wait, I want to bring you and get you hired into this other team that I work with. I had no idea what that really looked like, but I trusted him and I got a great job that wasn't an on-site FTE augment contractor, but a true consultant instead. But on the job title, they all sound interesting to me. He's like, your growth progression and pay and responsibility will fit better here. Just wait and be patient. Okay. Growth progression in the company, promotability. What's the maturity of a job posted, right? This is one of those aggravating things I've had to learn, right? Just because a job is out there doesn't mean the company is even hiring to it, right? They may have been all through all their interviews. They're about to give somebody the job, but the job is still there because it hasn't been awarded to somebody yet. So you may be applying to a job that they're not even considering you for, and they're not going to tell you. Okay. In some cases, the job is baked, right? As a contractor, you could tell when the government knows who they want to hire. There's no point in wasting your time chasing a contract, right? There may be an internal hire that they are going to give this job to, but they have to post it to be compliant. So if I can find out the maturity, I know whether or not to waste my time overall, right? Some jobs are just collecting resumes to bid on government contracts too. And they're not ever going to award that unless they win the contract, but you don't know unless you find out from the inside. Okay. Next thing, what's important to the hiring manager, right? What gap is the company trying to fill that I'm supposed to be the solution for, and why? Okay. If I know what's important to them, I can craft my message, write my bullet to influence them to the best extent possible. Okay. Are the requirements and desirements of the job actually required or just aspirational? Every job has a list of things you have to bring to the table. Some seem extreme, but it's a way to assess, hey, do you really want this stuff or are you just fishing too? Okay. Does the company have a resume template that they prefer? Always nice to know if they have one that they like better. And then ultimately, can you please connect me with a hiring manager, right? The recruiter is not the door anymore, and I'll talk this through later. The hiring manager is the person you want to influence with the authority to get you a job. So if I can talk to that person and build a relationship with that person, then I'm not just a blind date coming in with an interview. I'm a known commodity, right? And my resume becomes a validation to my conversation that simply says I'm now credible. All right, step 4, assess your weapon system, right? In the job hunt, you are the weapon. Your knowledge, skills, and abilities give you a weight of credibility and value to the organization that affects the size and weight of your bullet, right? How big is the barrel of your gun? Yep. Okay. So, and this is where, hey, how do I know the size of what I bring to the table? What is the capability that I have, and how do I articulate this in a resume? Okay, depending on the organization or the job, your resume might not have enough weight to kill the target you're going after. Okay, think of like having a 22 versus a 308, right? I don't care how good your shot is. If you do not have the pedigree or the requirements to influence the hiring decision, I don't care how many resumes you apply to, you're not going to get any credit. Okay, but again, if I have a spotter on the inside, they can help me assess my weapon, right? Is this the right job title to go for? Is this the right starting position based on where I've been and what I bring to the table? Am I shooting too low, right? The other extreme is I have too big of a caliber to shoot the animal I'm going after, and I'm going to be overqualified and I'm not going to get a conversation either. Okay, so again, that spotter on the inside gives you a lot of intel to know where to start shooting. Okay, every job posted has required knowledge, skills, and abilities and desired knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? You can assess your weapon system based on what the job post has, or I can ask somebody on the inside, right? Compare what's being asked for with what I bring to the table, right? Don't go in hoping, do an assessment, right? Talk with my spotter. Again, a lot of companies ask for the world, right? Again, they're hoping that something that has all of these attributes is going to meet their requirements for the gap they're trying to fill. But the reality is they probably haven't done an accurate assessment of their requirements either. And most of the time they're looking for hard skills, and what they really want are soft skills, right? So if I have someone on the inside and I can frame my attitude, my fit, my capabilities to the best alignment of what the company wants, I can craft my campaign, my bullet to influence someone to hire me as best value. Right. And again, I didn't know any of the crap I'm talking about when I was in transition, right? I learned it being an entrepreneur, having to deal with sales, branding, and marketing. Because again, I have to understand what's important to the buyer so I can influence their buying decision and remove concerns and risks away from that action. Okay, your resume. Okay, upgrade. When I see consistent gaps between my knowledge, skills, and abilities, focus on upgrading in those specific areas. Okay. Certifications are a great way to upgrade your weapon system, right? They're faster and easier to get than formal learning, and in some ways make you more competitive for promotion, even in a skill bridge. Right? One of our alumni who walked in with over 5 years of experience post PMP and Lean Six Black Belt said he had to turn down 10 job offers in the skill bridge because he was so competitive versus people that say, I'm in pursuit of or trying to get it now. I'm not trying to knock anybody here right now. Again, I love what O2O is doing. But conceptually, what if you could have been certified 2, 3, or 5 years before today and walk in with a resume that says, I have been a certified professional for 3, 5, 10, 20 years, and here's my Rolodex of past performance. Okay, so rather than upgrading in the firefight, you're walking in with a known, right, capability. Does that make sense? And there's lots of resources while I'm in uniform that dry up when I get out. Right, just being frank and honest. All right, why to pursue a certification? Okay, just help you guys out. The company I want to work for says I have to have it. Right, number one reason to get it. Must get to get hired. Second reason, the jobs I keep seeing that I'm interested in, it keeps popping up. Okay, again, upgrade with purpose. Final reason is I'm curious. I want to learn what it's going to teach me. And Frank, good comment. Project management, you would use every single day, but we can talk about that offline. Okay, but do your research. Find out what the jobs are and what they're asking for and what it is that I want to learn. Okay, here's an easy timeline, right? 3 years and beyond, I can go for reasons 2 and 3, right? Using the credentialing program for the Army, go taste industry, go try it out, take a class in it. If I hate the class, I probably don't want to pursue a career field in that. Right, but now I can experience some industry by getting training in that industry and see if I even want to do it. Okay, the closer I get though, the more my target better be dialed in and I'm upgrading with a known purpose in mind. And then skill bridge at the end becomes kind of the experiential gap filler that says now I have past performance using these things. Right, tangible value of certifications, right? On average, you make 20% more than non-certified. Right? This comes from multiple cert industries. Okay, some jobs require them to even be considered for a position, right? I had a sergeant major who said I had a $250,000 job walk in front of me. I met all the requirements. They asked if I had my PMP. He said no, and they said don't bother applying. Okay, now granted, that's not the capability for every job, but it is a reality that's out there. Okay, the bigger focus is the intangible value of certifications. We talked identity a lot early on. Okay, industry certifications help you bridge that gap where you don't walk out being that foreign orphan, right? So relatability, okay? I can show up and have relatability, speaking a language that the industry speaks, okay? I can connect with other professionals who are now like me because I have it, okay? Okay, it demonstrates knowledge, experience, and capability, right? Through us, our ranks, our tabs, or badges, medals, things like that, the schools we go to give us credibility in uniform, and we wear them freely. On the outside, though, this now allows us to show that I have capability without having to justify it because I can't use my military accolades. Okay, false perception divide, right? 1% of the population are veteran. That means the other 99% only know about veterans either from direct contact or Hollywood. Okay, thank you, Maverick, right? We're all a bunch of bias for action tail chasers who don't want to follow the rules. I mean, or whatever it's going to be, like, we're fighting that, right? A lot of the community wants to help vets, but they don't know what we are. And now I have to get over whatever their assumptions are about a veteran. And if I show up with what they think a professional looks like, I have a much easier time connecting with them and relating with them, right? So say veterans have so much capability, but we don't have is credibility and relatability, and certifications greatly help bridge that divide overall. Okay, industry terminology and standards, confidence in an interview, right? I told you my story. I was shot in terms of confidence, but when I gotta say, why should I consider you to be a project manager because I'm a certified professional with 15 years of experience? Next stupid question, right? I mean, I could have an answer versus scrambling for that star format statement to say, believe in me, I have value for this, right? Like the interview is much different when I can speak to you with credibility. Right? There's a broad application. Again, project management applies everywhere. And some companies actually value them more than formal learning, Amazon being, a pave the way type company. Again, are you one of these, right? The truth is there's part of us that's all of these, but we are so much more than whatever Hollywood may portray in whatever the movie is. Okay. All right, ways to pay for certs, right? I'm educating you now because some of you still have access to these benefits. But the bigger thing is that you can share this with those coming behind you, which is why I love partnering with O2O, so we can help change the narrative about certifications. Okay, Army CA. Every soldier has $4,000 every single year with no ADSO to use for 1,700 industry certifications. Okay, so if you are still in the Army, you can still use this until the day you ETS, even after retirement. Hit me up. If you want, I'll walk you through it. Air Force, cool, right? Enlisted airmen have access to $4,500 for certifications. Okay, and there's a lot of PMP folks in here. Both of these are usable for both of those certs. Okay, unit training funds, the SF-182. Okay, I got the Marine Corps to pay for my Lean 6 and PMP using the government training card. Okay, why? Because project management directly complements everything you do in uniform. GI Bill, right? Our company is the only GI Bill approved PMP training company in existence right now. Okay, tuition reimbursement for civilian companies are great. O2O, right? Phenomenal program, especially 180 days out and beyond, and for spouses, right? I love what they do. But again, if you could have had this earlier and then simply added on another cert aligned with the animal you're hunting, how much more competitive would you be to leverage this as a icing on the cake, not building a cake? And again, ask for veteran discounts if they have any. I know we have a 30% discount out of pocket for all vets in their family. We teach PMP, Agile, Lean Six Sigma, right? So those are curious on that. Again, when could you have started, right? So this is built for the Army, but most people don't consider professional certifications until they're about to retire or transition. Well, what if I told you I could get every E4 certified in Agile, E5, Lean Six Green Belt, and every E6 could have their PMP? And it would directly complement everything they're doing while they're in uniform, because everything in the military is a project focused on two key things, which is customer satisfaction and profitability, or satisfying commander's intent and mission requirements, right? And resources, right? They're all the same skills. We just don't know it. But industry cares more about speed and tempo than everybody in the military, because if I fail as an industry leader, I have to shoot my own team, right? It isn't that they got taken out by the enemy. It's that I failed so bad, I have to fire my own people. Okay, we care about speed and tempo. Okay, and the skills of project management, right? Agile requires 18 months of experience. It's about a team of 12 or less dealing with rapid change, right? Wow, what if we taught coaching and mentorship and training to our E4s on how to do this the industry standard way so they can be more effective in uniform and then have job credibility when they get out? And airmen, same thing. CAP-M can start even younger. I use CAP-M because Air Force School was screwy on their policy, so everyone kind of starts with CAP-M. Dina, let's make it happen, honestly. If you wonder where to start in project management, we call it building your leadership toolbox. They're all integrated, right? Agile is small teams and rapid change, right? ACP teaches you the top 7 leading methodologies. Lean 6 is in and of itself a project, right? But Lean is taught in Agile because it's about efficiency and doing as much as possible with what I have. Okay, Six Sigma is taught in PMP in terms of quality, right? Because I have to build a house to known standards so it doesn't fall down. And half the PMP exam is now Agile, right? Focus on the teamwork aspect, right? These are all integrated skill sets that make you more effective in any job you are ever going to have. Which again, our point is integrating this earlier, right? Which one is sought after? What job are you going for? Okay, if I go type PMP into LinkedIn, there's 550,000 jobs right now. If I type Agile into LinkedIn, there's about 600,000 jobs right now. So for PM jobs, I'd say, what type of PM job is it, right? I'm not trying to insult you Javon. It's just that, like, if it's IT focused or adaptive project focused, it's probably more looking for Agile or Scrum. If it's a predictive world, it's probably looking more for PMP. If it's a government consulting world, they're looking for PMP because those are becoming required on government contracts. If it's a construction job, they may want PMP or a construction management certification. I mean, so in the PM world, it changes. In marketing, in my world, I use Agile all the time, right? Our core culture is Agile based because we're dealing with constant change. I've rewritten these slides. I don't know, I'm a version on 8.0 right now, because every time I teach it, I get feedback about something that I don't like and I change it, right? So we use Agile because it's change-based planning with rapid feedback, right? So again, hit me up. I'd love to talk about it. Government contracting, PMP, through and through, flat out, right? It also teaches hybrid Agile. So if you want government contracting, get your PMP, not Agile. Okay, mission sets complemented by each of these certs while I'm in uniform. I'm briefing USAREC in a few weeks, right? Recruiting. Change-based initiative allows feedback and modification without permission from higher, essentially. Okay, targeting cycle, intel integration, small unit leadership, SOP development, policy, right? Any IPT I work on would benefit from Agile. Lean Six Sigma, admin and logistics, right? How do I make processes run faster, right? Use my resources more effectively. And then PMP is anything that would fall under the military planning cycle, right? Everything, every field exercise is used as your experience for your application. And back to credibility, go look for it. This is a few months old. Numbers have gone up and down a little bit, but go type the cert you're looking for into a job field and see, does this give me the credibility I want? Does this open the doors I want it to have? Okay. Change management. I bring that on here because change management is an entire career field focused on influencing human speed of adoption of change concepts, right? The military fails at this miserably, but if we fail at respecting the value of our team in industry, people quit. Okay, so change manager's job is to not manage just the project execution of change, but the human influence of change concepts as we execute the project. Okay, it's great. If I was not doing what I'm doing now, change manager is probably the job I'd go after. I'm also certified in it. Okay, so why pursue a certification? I've hit on this a little bit, but the industry, or why pursue certification of active duty? Industry skills directly complement military skills. Right? Project management does. Military training often provides a foundation. My experience in uniform will qualify me, right? Like I said before, everything in uniform is a project, so everything in uniform can be used for a PM application. Some certs can be loaded to your ORB, your ERB, and give promotion points. I think in the Army, you get 10 points for every cert that you have, I've been told. Not completely sure. It's a chance to experience the industry. Okay, this is huge. If I had free educational money, go take a class on something I think I want to get into when I'm no longer in uniform to see if I like it. A lot of guys think they want to go into HR and recruiting and they take a SHRM class and they're like, that is not what I thought HR was, because in the military, HR and civilian version of HR are not the same thing. So by taking a class, it lets people know I don't want to do that, right? So I can taste it before I get there, right? Soldiers have 4K every single year. That's use or lose, active guard and reserve with no ADSO. I mean, holy crap. The Marine in me hates saying the Army's better, but the Army's way better right now in this concept, right? Their educational benefits are huge, right? For us, our model is 2 certs per year for PMP, Agile, and Lean. Exams included, no risk, right? So help me tell your other soldiers and friends about us. And a lot of companies now want to see post-cert experience. I've seen some jobs asking for PMP plus 3 years, PMP plus 5 years, okay? Navy is still on hold, yeah. Trying to fix that one. Cool does pay for the exams, but unit funding is optional too. So Javon, we can talk about that. All right. So next step, now that we know you have a capable weapon, we've already upgraded it to a known target. I have to choose my bullet based on the impact I want it to have. Okay, but what am I shooting at? Okay, like weapons pairing, right? If I'm a tank commander and I have troops in the open, do I shoot Sabo? Right, those that know that's wrong, that's an anti-armor round. If I have armor out there, am I going to shoot canister and flechette? Right? No. Right? It's the wrong pairing. It's not because your barrel, your weapon system wasn't capable. It's because you picked the wrong message to send. Your resume is the bullet, but I have to know my target, right? Is it an algorithm, right? USA jobs are notorious for this, right? So are the algorithms, right? For certain companies. What are the keywords that they're going to filter out to see if my resume is even going to get to an individual? Okay. Or I call this like being hot or not, right? The recruiter may look at it simply for about 2 seconds, and it's based on the targeting criteria they were given from their boss. Do you match what they wanted to see or not? If it's not there, they're not even going to give it a second look. Right? So I have to have my spotter on the inside. Let me know what the requirements are to get my resume to be looked at. Right? Or the hiring manager, right? If I'm advocating directly to the individual, again, what are they hiring for? Why? What are their concerns? What are they really looking for in the teammate they want to bring on, so I can make sure to write the message about my value to that individual? Again, you do not have to put everything on your resume. Only put the things that match the target I'm going after. Right? Fire for multiple positions, right? Getting hired is competitive. Take a combined arms approach, right? Don't just network, don't just apply, do it all. Right? Do my research, gather my intelligence, build my brand, be marketable and valuable, right? Start posting on LinkedIn, write articles on LinkedIn. Be the expert you know you are simply by saying I'm an expert. Right? It's hard to get over, but the fact becomes you become the expert when you say I'm an expert. And it's yours to lose. Right? I've built that brand for me and my company about project management, what we do. Be willing to learn and get it wrong. Okay? Failing is okay. Learn from it. All right, things about civilian hiring, I wish I would have known, right? Recruiters are not the door to getting hired. To get in the military, you walk to a recruiter and you have to get them to convince you in the paperwork, right? They are the forward observer for the enemy in the civilian world. They are simply looking for the targeting criteria that their boss gave them. If you have it, great. If you don't, move on. Right? The company doesn't need to have an open position to hire you. They can make one. Right? We're talking this week with some of our alumni, and he's looking for a new job. Identified him as a good candidate for sales in a full-time position. So I opened a position for him. He applied and I closed it. I wasn't looking for a full-time salesman, but I had a conversation with somebody I thought was a good fit. So we created a job for him. Right? In the military, one, you talk to a recruiter first, and there has to be an open billet before I can get a job. That is not the case in the civilian world. If you are value added, they can hire you. Your pay is not fixed. It's negotiable. You don't have to stay there if you don't like it. Right? You can actually accept the job offer, get a better one before you started the job, and cancel the first job offer. Now you feel like crap doing that because it feels like you're not being an honest person of character. But if you get the better opportunity, go after it. Right? Get it. Do what's right for you and your family. You are free to pursue the job I want, not just what my MOS was, right? Again, veterans bring so much to the table. My experience in human intelligence gave me a lot of branding and sales skills that I didn't know I could sell at scales, right? My job as a division planner gave me consulting background where I'm advising and building plans and assessing, key things. All right. So we have a lot we bring to the table, and that's beyond my MOS. All right. Job titles are not standardized. They're unique to every company. I have to figure out what the company calls the job I think I want. Again, as an entrepreneur, I've changed my job title at least 6 times since we started this company. I was first a client advisor. We created that title because we thought that fit. Then I was the director of business development. We're a company of 2 people. I wasn't directing anybody, but I gave myself the title so that I had credibility in the conversation when I'm trying to market my product. Okay, then I became something different. Now I'm the chief strategy officer. Why? Because it fit based on the company structure as we were growing. But companies often use job titles to attract talent. Okay. And they can create whatever they want. So someone feels empowered and important, so they're going to apply to the job. It may or may not have anything to do with what you're actually going to do in the job. So you have to know your requirements. All right. Getting hired is a business transaction, right? You are being hired to fill a need for the company. Their job post is a solicitation. Your resume is your response to that contract. Do your homework, identify the gap, write the best message possible, and set yourself up to be high value, low risk. All right. Thank you for the feedback on the typo too. I'll get that fixed. All right. Like dating, don't make your first interview the blind date. Okay. Be a known commodity. When I walk in, I've already talked, I've networked. I know the company's purpose, vision, mission, value, where they're heading, and why I'm the best fit. And I know that I want to be there. Okay. It changes how you interview. All right. Transition advice number 1. In the job hunt, you are the weapon. Your resume is the bullet. Know how well your experience lines up, and if there's gaps, fill them in. Okay, being certified in any profession and demonstrating and understand the industry and have applied the skills removes risk and increases value. Okay, don't walk in with nothing, get something. Advice number 2. Okay, no one has any experience until they actually show up, but this also applies even when I'm changing companies. Just because I did consulting for WBB or Circo, which is where I've worked. If I go to Booz Allen, that doesn't mean I have any experience doing it the way the Booz Allen does. Okay, don't short sell your capability just because you don't have exact past performance. Okay, know what you bring to the table and what you can do. Most civilian companies don't understand how well-rounded veterans are. Be able to relate my experiences using industry terms and demonstrate a knowledge of industry process. Okay, this will help. Skill bridge internships are another great way to get my foot in the door. Being certified never hurts. Okay, it may help in greater degrees, but it will never hurt you. All right, whew, that was a mouthful. Comments, questions, I appreciate the chat and feedback from folks. All right, hopefully this is a little bit lighter. We got a few minutes to run through this before we're out of time, but we'll try to go through this quickly. All right, networking with a purpose. Again, a lot of people say network, but what the heck are they talking about, right? So first and foremost, what networking is not, okay? Networking is not having lots of connections on followers or social media, okay? It is not getting a lot of likes on my posts. It is not connections, right? Again, it's not how many connections you have. That is your network, okay? Building a network is important. Networking is the action of using that network. Okay, so what is it, right? It's a common buzzword that most veterans don't think they do or don't really understand. Okay, I didn't understand it either, but I did this every single day in logistics and operations, right? Networking is connecting with individuals who have access to resources, information, or knowledge that can help me, right? It's leveraging your network to solve a problem, essentially. So again, some examples, right? For the sake of time, I'm not going to have as much participation here, but think about what would I do in the following scenario, right? My unit needs a piece of equipment or supplies and I don't have it, right? I'm trying to find out information on something that I have no clue about and I don't know where to start looking. I want to get into a military school and I have to learn how, right? I want to put in a promotion package or get a commission and no one around me has ever done that before. Yeah, ask the chief. I'm trying to PCS or get hired into a specific unit and I want to figure out how to do that. Okay. And most of these, like I found out, look, I'm going to reach out to somebody or someone that I think has the answer and I'm going to ask them, hey, do you have that piece of equipment? Do you know where this information resides? Hey, ask your chief, right? Go to my counterpart, sister unit, right? And then when I get there, if they have it, great. If they don't have it, I'm going to ask them if they know who does. Hey, can you give me the contact of that person who has what I need? Sure. Here's their number. And I'm going to call that number to talk to somebody that I've never met on the other end. I'm going to cold call somebody, right? And yet, if I ask you to do that on social media, we go, no, I ain't doing that. I don't know. But yet I will cold call or cold email people that are referred to me inside the global all the time to get help, right? It's knowing how to use the tools at your disposal. Okay, repeat till you're successful. Okay, why networking is so hard outside of the military? I've coined into one word, vulnerability. Now I'm not networking to do something my boss wants. I'm doing something for myself. Okay, and I'm asking for someone to help me get to somewhere that I don't know how to get to. And I'm uncomfortable doing, right? I now, as a senior person, have to reach out to people that I don't know and say, I need help. And I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. And that is why it is so damn hard. Because I now am no longer the subject matter expert. I am now no longer the senior leader with everything under control. I'm in fact out of control. And I'm grasping for people to help me do it. What we don't realize is the power of the veteran network to help each other. Okay. So how do you do it? Right? How do we network? Right? LinkedIn is the most powerful networking tool in existence, in my mind. Treat it like a bar. Right? If you walked into the bar and you saw somebody wearing a unit patch, you'd probably have no problem walking up and tapping them on the shoulder. In fact, have a good bro hug, high five, and find out when they were in the unit and when did you serve together. Right? We have instant camaraderie. Well, if I see somebody on LinkedIn that was in the same unit or same branch of service or probably have some shared story, why am I so uncomfortable putting a connection request and saying, hey, you were just like me. I think you're in my unit. You're at a company I want to learn about. Can I talk to you? Or even better, just put a post out there. I need help doing this. Does somebody know anyone I can talk to? Right? The veteran dog pile is amazing. We had a need for a classroom at Fort Hood. Our resources fell out. I put a I need help, holy crap post out there. And in less than 4 hours, I had 4 different classrooms in multiple situations. And now we're teaching at Texas A&M with a free room to use. Right? Why? Because I was willing to say, I need help, everybody. And I tagged a few people I knew and they tagged their friends and everyone jumps on board to help the community. But you have to first admit, hey, I need help with something. Hey, LinkedIn's the global. I can look up almost anybody. I can find the CEO, 4-star generals, anybody I want. And I can tap on the shoulder. But you have to be proactive. You cannot wait to be found. Okay? I'm gonna run through a couple of slides really quick. I'm gonna do a full-on demo for you just to show you how this works rapidly. I don't have time to do a lot of back and forth, but we'll get there. Okay? So how do I do it? Right? Go to LinkedIn, type a job title. Now I know it says start with requirements first, but you can't look up requirements. You got to look up job titles. So type in a job title in pick a city, USA. Right? So for this example, I did project manager in Virginia. Okay? And I found a job that I thought I wanted. Right? So I right click on it and I open it in a new tab. Okay? Again, this is an eye chart. We'll send the slides out later. And I'll do a demo here in a second. Okay. Once I open the job, I click on the See More button, right? Because I want to assess this job and see if I like it. So once I look at this job, I look at the required qualifications, right? 5 years of experience, strong analytical computer skills, right? And PMP certified. Okay, good. Do I have that or don't I, right? I can start assessing my weapon on the get-go. Right? Preferred qualifications, right? Working with adult learners, cross-culture, right? Things that are there that they're thinking that they want to have. Do I think I meet the requirements? Does this job sound interesting to me? Right? If yes, right, I like the job I'm looking at. Okay, now let's go find a spotter. Okay, how do I do that? Click on the company logo. Okay, this gives you access to their employee base, right? Once I click on the logo, I click on the people tab of that company. That pulls up every employee for that company that has a LinkedIn profile. And guess what? It's searchable. So now I can go click in the search bar and I can type veteran or Army or whatever I want. And it will filter out every employee in the company that meets that attribute that I want. I can even filter it by the city I want to live in. So I can potentially find a veteran in the company I want, in the city I want to live in. Guess what? That's probably a pretty good contact to have at the company. Right? In this case, I type veteran, right? There's 10 employees at PM-ProLearn at the time, right? We're almost all veterans. That were there, right? And it shows up. Look, these are the connections that I already have. Guess what? I'm connected to the chief operating officer of the company, right? I shoot him a note. Hey, I saw an opening at your company. Can I talk to you about it? Or even if I'm not connected, I can hit the connect button and script a message, right? It's in yellow down here and it's also on the next slide. Hey, I was searching for an open position in your company. I noticed you're a fellow veteran. I wanted to connect to learn more about the company and would love to talk with you. My email address. Right? It's not hard. It's just getting over the emotional discomfort of reaching out to ask for help, okay? And just when they reply back, you talk to them. You don't walk in and saying, I'm desperate and need a job. Please help me. Here's my email. Right? No, it's, hey, I want to talk to you. What do you talk about after step 8? We talked about it. What do you ask your spotter? Why are you there? What's the company like? Hey, I saw this job position, right? I think it's a good fit for me. Is it, right? Or is it a mature job? Is it ready to be awarded to somebody? How long has it been out there, right? Can you ask the recruiter how many applicants they have? Can you take a look at my resume? Can you connect me with the hiring management? All those things I talked about asking your spotter is where this comes into play, right? Even if you're 6, 10, 9, 12 months out, right? Build a network. So when a job becomes available, they may tag you. Hey, guess what? There's a job we got coming on. And what I didn't know, a lot of companies have an internal hiring bonus. If you get hired and refer this person, they're going to get paid because they got you the job. So not only do they have the intrinsic motivation of helping a veteran, they have an extrinsic motivation of getting extra money because they got you hired, right? And internal referrals are more trustable to a company. Hey, this is somebody that I know that I've evaluated. You should check them out. Just like dating. Guess what? Hey, here's a friend of mine. I think they're a good fit for you. Why don't you talk to them? Right? It's relationship building. Repeat until I get a job, right? I mean, like I said, many companies have a hiring bonus. Your spotter is going to get paid. Companies can build a job for you if they think you're value added. Know your value, your goals, and your requirements, right? A couple of graphics, right? 5 steps. The job I want is the animal. My knowledge, skill, and experience are the weapons. My resume is the bullet. My spotter, right, is an employee in the company, and I got to find a hunting guide. Job I want, self-reflection, Maslow's hierarchy, strengths finder, discover your why, DISC, Myers-Briggs, right? Certifications, skill bridge, your weapon system, your resumes, the bullet, and networking. Finding spotters out there. All right, last couple slides again for the sake of time. I wish I could do the demo, but hit me up afterwards. I'll gladly walk you through it. Right, building your tribe. The veteran community is powerful, but you will likely not understand what it's like until you leave. Okay, but you have to build a network around yourself. Right? The impact of being around vets in uniform, you will likely take for granted. Right, reserves and guard are a great way to be the bridge for this. But take time to connect with others intentionally. Right, build that network of people I can call and just be real with. Be willing to ask for help. Right, vetstoindustry.com is a great place to start. They do these great networking events about every month. It's just a good place to go and meet other people. All right, finances, right? Consider the cost of living depending on where I want to live, right? My pay went down and my cost of living went up when I got out of the uniform. That part sucked, kind of a double hit. Okay, define my base salary, again, based on life requirements. Consider the cost of medical and life insurance, right? I said earlier, I pay over $1,000 a month just to have medical, right? Because I didn't get to retire. So for those not retiring, you have to factor that in. Consider taxes on retirement income. Someone mentioned that earlier, right? Various benefits of VA disability ratings, depending on the state. And try to build up 3 to 6 months of savings before you transition so you don't take the job you don't want because you're not having any income, right? Again, all of you are probably too late to put 6 months away in the last 6 months in uniform, but again, this is for you and those coming behind you. Okay, life insurance, right? VA disability ratings might make you uninsurable. So if you have not looked into life insurance before your disability rating, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, whole term and life are great to look at. I can refer you to people if you want to figure that out. I have a term life plan with USAA that's fantastic. I have a whole life plan with New York Life right now. I knew nothing about them when I was in uniform, and I got tired of moving company to company and losing all my insurance. So I was like, crap, I need something that's stable, so buy your own. Right, VA disability is a huge benefit, but make sure you document everything before you leave the uniform. Okay, go to the doctor and have them diagnose you with something. Okay, chronic pain doesn't mean anything. It has to have a diagnosis with it. So before you get out, get the doc to write down everything. Thank you for that as well. All right, if you're retiring before 20 years, you will not get full retirement and VA disability. But a lot of friends get bit by this. They're getting medically retired at 18 years, planning on both, and then you lose out on one. You'll probably get 100% VA, but you won't get a retirement. You will get medical. So it changes, just be aware. All right, dressing like a professional, right? Don't overlook your wardrobe, right? Have at least 2 suits because you don't want to wear the same thing twice and look like you're broke. So invest in clothing that will last. Definitely check out Salute to Suit. We say certifications are like a well-fitted suit, both make you look like a professional in the interview and give you confidence, right? So just do your homework. All right, final takeaway, you do not want to be in the firefight trying to upgrade your weapon, realizing I don't have enough ammo, chow, and water. Build my weapon system, right, through certifications and support system finance early. So when I'm in the fight, I'm simply refining my aim and taking out targets of opportunity. Right, plan early and help me help others. Right, my ask in the whole presentation is reach out, talk to me, share me with your friends, share our company with your friends. Let's get this presentation on bases, pre-tap, so we can get it out there. Yes, do your research on life insurance, which is about what the agent says. So I've got a few contacts. Craig Horseman's a retired soldier who's great, and Jeff O'Neill is my agent with New York Life. Both are really good people.